Listen to me closely. What if I told you that everything you've been telling yourself about why you aren't where you want to be is completely wrong? Welcome to This Explainer. I'm stepping into your corner today, not just as your host, but as your coach. We're going to deconstruct the blueprint of success using the source material right in front of us. We're talking about the exact architecture of one small decision. I need your absolute focus for the next few minutes, because we're about to dismantle those excuses you've been carrying around and replace them with a structured, undeniable truth about how high performers actually build their lives.
Just let this sink in for a second. What if the biggest thing holding you back right now isn't your job? What if it's not your bank account or your past or, the broader economy? What if the only barrier between the life you have and the life you desperately want is literally just one decision? A decision you are actively, deliberately avoiding today. You see, psychologically, it's human nature to look for these massive, insurmountable obstacles to blame our stagnation on. Why? Well, because if the obstacle is huge, we're totally off the hook. We don't have to try, but the architecture of success, it tells a completely different story. The barrier isn't a mountain. It's a single, small choice.
To really understand this deeply, let's look at someone from our source material. Meet Jake. Jake is 24 years old, and he works at a local grocery store. I want you to picture his day-to-day life for a minute. He's standing behind a register, maybe stocking shelves. Every single morning, he deals with customers who just completely ignore him. He's essentially invisible. And every single evening, after a long, exhausting, totally unfulfilling shift, he walks out to the parking lot. He watches successful people driving home in their expensive cars, people who seemingly have it all figured out. And as he watches those taillights fade, this heavy, sinking feeling just settles in his chest. Think about the psychological weight of that routine, the constant contrast between his painful daily reality and the visible success of others. It creates this paralyzing cognitive dissonance. It is exhausting.
Okay, let's dive into this. Because why not me is the exact question Jake asked himself every single night. It's a painful question, right? Honestly, have you asked it yourself? When you see someone living the life you want, traveling where you want to travel, building the exact business you want to build, you think, why not me? Now, Jake could have let that question turn into bitterness. He could have let it rot into toxic resentment against the people in those expensive cars. But instead, he allowed that heavy, super relatable internal question to become a catalyst. He realized waiting for a savior just wasn't going to work. Nobody was coming to rescue him. That internal shift, it had to happen first. So one night, Jake faced the ultimate daily crossroads. The default routine was right there. 3 hours of mindlessly watching Netflix to numb the exhaustion of the day. Or the alternative, spending just 30 minutes learning a new skill online. 3 hours of Netflix versus 30 minutes of learning. That's it. That is the unglamorous, tiny sacrifice we're talking about here. Now, why is this so insanely hard? Well, it boils down to basic neurochemistry. Netflix offers instant dopamine. It's frictionless comfort. Learning, on the other hand, requires friction. It requires delayed gratification. That's why the small sacrifice feels so heavy in the moment. He didn't quit his job in some dramatic blaze of glory. He didn't take out a $100,000 business loan. He simply traded a fraction of his easy entertainment time for a fraction of difficult education. It was a micro decision. But it was a decision to start right where he was, with exactly what he had. Now, let's watch how this actually compounds over time. The next day, Jake made the exact same decision, and the day after that. Day 1, he's at the grocery store. Month 1, he's stacked up daily 30-minute sessions. Fast forward to year 1, those tiny, initially insignificant 30-minute blocks have compounded into thousands of hours of deliberate practice. This is the mechanical leverage of time at work. It's the exact same principle as compound interest in finance, but applied to human capital. By year 2, that compounding effect hit critical mass. Jake quit his job. Today, he runs his own online business, he earns more than he ever imagined, and most importantly, he chooses exactly when and how he works. The whole shebang. All starting from just 30 minutes a day.
But hey, I need to be completely straight with you about the reality of the grind here. While Jake was doing all this, the environment around him didn't suddenly cheer him on. Nobody noticed. Nobody threw him a parade for skipping his favorite TV show. His friends, they laughed at him. His family, they told him with absolute certainty that he was wasting his time. Look, if you're starting something right now and you feel completely isolated, unsupported, or misunderstood, validate that feeling. Expect it. The initial stages of success are always lonely. You're basically building the foundation of a skyscraper underground in the absolute dark where nobody can see the progress. All they see is the dirt you're digging up. It's just human nature to look at Jake today, running the successful online business, and assume he had some massive unfair advantage. People will say, oh, well, he must have a natural talent, or he got lucky with the algorithm, or he must have had secret funding.
But the truth aggressively shuts down those excuses. The difference wasn't talent, it wasn't luck, and it sure wasn't money. It was one small decision, the decision to stop waiting for the perfect moment. Listen, the perfect moment is a myth, designed to keep you comfortable and stagnant. The stars are never going to perfectly align. Jake succeeded solely because he started with what he had, right there in the dark.
Let these truths really echo in your mind for a second. The life lesson here: your future isn't built by one huge cinematic breakthrough. That is a total myth sold by Hollywood movies to make good television. The future is actually built by hundreds of small decisions that nobody applauds. Every successful person was once completely unknown. Every single expert in every field was once an embarrassed, stumbling beginner. And most importantly, every winner started before they felt ready. Actually, if you're waiting to feel ready, you're going to be waiting for the rest of your life. Action dictates feeling, not the other way around. You take the action first, and I promise you, the confidence follows. And this brilliantly illustrates our next point perfectly. Think about the magnitude of the number 12 in our source material. J.K. Rowling was rejected by 12 different publishers before Harry Potter became a global phenomenon. 12 professional editors, the gatekeepers of the industry, looked at one of the best-selling series in human history and said, "Nope, thanks, just not good enough." Imagine the crushing psychological weight of rejection number 6, or number 9, or 11. The imposter syndrome must have been absolutely deafening. She had every logical, rational reason to pack it up and say the dream was dead. But she didn't. She made the small, super unglamorous decision to send it out one more time. And hey, if you think 12 is an impossible hurdle to clear, consider the number 1,000 plus. Colonel Harlan Sanders was turned down over 1,000 times before building KFC. Just let the sheer volume of that resilience wash over you for a second. Over 1,000 times, people tasted his recipe, heard his pitch, and told him absolutely not. 1,000 doors slammed in his face, 1,000 meetings that ended in failure. From a behavioral standpoint, most people quit after their first or second rejection, simply because the ego can't handle the pain. The level of massive, unreasonable resilience required to hear no 1,000 times and still wake up the next day to knock on door 1001, that is exactly what separates the victorious from the forgotten.
You see, this isn't some isolated anomaly. This is standard operating procedure for greatness. We talked about Rowling and Sanders facing down their rejections, but consider the others on this list. Walt Disney, the literal architect of childhood magic for a century, was told by an editor that he lacked imagination. No way, right? Oprah Winfrey, arguably one of the most influential and empathetic media personalities in human history, was fired from her early television job because she was told she was unfit for TV. These giants, Disney, Oprah, Sanders, Rowling, they didn't somehow bypass failure. They built their massive empires out of the very bricks of crushing, humiliating rejections that would have stopped anyone else dead in their tracks.
Let's slow down for a second here, because this is the absolute core of our explainer today. They didn't succeed because life was easy. Life wasn't easy for Jake at the grocery store. It wasn't easy for Rowling on welfare, or Disney facing bankruptcy, or Oprah being publicly fired. The playing field was not tilted in their favor. In fact, the circumstances were entirely against them. The friction was at its absolute maximum. They succeeded for one reason, and one reason only. They refused to quit. They made the solitary, completely unapplauded decision to keep moving forward, exactly when giving up was the most logical, comfortable option available. So here's my direct challenge to you today. If you are still chasing your dream, why on earth would you stop now? Why would you let the laughter of friends, the doubts of family, or the silence of the universe convince you to pack it in? You've seen the architecture. You know now that it's not about talent or luck or waiting for some massive breakthrough. It is about the mechanics of discipline. It's about what you do tonight instead of giving in to the frictionless comfort of your default routine. The life you desperately want, the freedom, the impact, the income, it's not light years away. It might literally be just one decision away. I demand that you commit this exact phrase to your future self right now. I will not quit. The time for waiting for the perfect moment is officially over. Start with what you have. Make the small decision today. But here is the question you have to answer when you close this explainer. When that alarm goes off tomorrow morning and you are faced with the exact same choice Jake had, which decision will you actually make? The blueprint is right there in your hands. What are you going to build with it?